You're watching Breakfast on Sky News, just coming up to 6:25 on a Friday morning. Let's just return to that breaking news of a few moments ago that Louise Haigh, the Transport Secretary, has tendered her resignation from the government to the Prime Minister. Amanda's here for more on this. Two letters have just been made public in the last few moments.
Yes, indeed. So Louise Haigh has given her resignation to the Prime Minister, explaining that she's done so because the story that was first reported by Sky News last night about a conviction she had in the courts in connection with misleading the police in connection with a phone which had been reported stolen back in 2013 when she was a 24-year-old young woman. The incident is that she had reported a mugging in which a number of her possessions were stolen. She listed the phone, a work phone, is being stolen, and she says in her letter that sometime later she discovered that the handset in question was still in her house, and says, "I should have immediately informed my employer. Not doing so straight away was a mistake." Now, last night she explained those circumstances in a response to the reporting of this information, but wasn't resigning last night, insisting that it was an honest mistake. She went on to explain that she was interviewed by the police, and on the advice of her solicitor, she had not made any comments to the police, and then went to court and accepted the conviction, but with a discharge, the lowest kind of possible kind of punishment as a result of that, but seemed to believe last night that that explanation would be enough. The story's been picked up in many of the papers, on the front pages of many of the papers this morning. Many outstanding questions about exactly what happened in this situation. The Conservatives came out saying Sir Keir Starmer had questions to answer about what he knew when she was appointed to the Cabinet. Now, we understand that this was all disclosed to the Labour Party when she was appointed in Cabinet, but clearly an immediate backlash to the information that she did have this conviction for misleading the police in these circumstances, and has decided this morning, as she put it in her letter, she says, whatever the facts of the matter, the issue will inevitably be a distraction from delivering on the work of this government. And so she says that's why she's decided to resign.
But she will remain as a backbench MP?
She said, yeah, well, yes, indeed, she's not resigning from her position as the constituency MP for Sheffield Heeley. She says she'll continue to do that. She talks about being appointed to the Cabinet as the youngest ever woman. It's one of the proudest achievements of her life. But obviously, staying in Cabinet when they've been elected to government for just, barely 5 months in such a high-profile role. She'd obviously had controversy before in terms of her comments about P&O when they're about to announce a major investment. Keir Starmer sort of publicly rebuked her about that because the whole thing nearly fell through as a result. But she has been a very high-profile moment of the government, member of the government, and indeed as a backbench MP was also obviously very young. She was someone that initially backed Jeremy Corbyn. She then spearheaded Lisa Nandy's leadership campaign before obviously coming over to Sir Keir Starmer and being appointed in Cabinet. I mean, what's particularly striking about her is that she actually served as a volunteer police constable as well before she came into Parliament. I think it's important to say as well this mugging and the conviction was a few months before she was actually elected MP back in 2015. But clearly Downing Street haven't exactly gone out on a limb to sort of defend her. They've issued Sir Keir Starmer's issued an incredibly short letter here, yes, in response, saying thank you for the work you've done, and talking about some of her efforts as Transport Secretary, particularly bringing railways back into public ownership. But that says he knows she still has a huge contribution to make, but clearly there's not a huge amount more you can say, because this is incredibly embarrassing for the government. It's a real kind of unforced error, and they've barely been in power for 6 months, and then already they've lost such a high-profile cabinet member, and also someone who was clearly such a trailblazer as a young woman with her bright red hair, clearly someone who was the face of the new Labour government. She was out and about. We heard her a lot just last weekend. She was out talking about her bus proposals, and clearly now having to try and defend her actions. And, they decided it's not worth the political capital, and she's taken the hit and decided to step down.
No, it's notable, isn't it, that reply from the Prime Minister is almost curt
in
its delivery, references to statements of fact, but no real references to her as an individual in many respects.
No, indeed. I mean, it's obviously decided it's not even something that they want to get into the details of what happened. And, this is something that clearly they sent this out to political journalists about 5 minutes past 6 this morning. So it's something that came out when we were already on air. And so they wanted this to come on. So rather than us spending the morning talking about what the allegations are and the questions to Sir Keir Starmer and his judgments over keeping her in Cabinet, they're attempting to kind of draw a speedy line under this, but it's certainly not going to stop the discussion of this issue. It's a big moment for the government.
And notably, ministers or members of the government typically post this on their own feeds. As yet, nothing.
No, nothing on hers.
No comment directly from her.
No, this came out from Downing Street. So this is something that they've put out, that they want to, make it clear that this is, something that's come out this morning.
Amanda, really appreciate it for the moment. We'll have more on that developing story through the course of the morning. That the Transport Secretary, Louise Haigh, has resigned. That's after a Sky News investigation revealed she admitted pleading guilty to an offence connected with misleading the police while she was a parliamentary candidate back in 2014.